If you would please, Nancy.
Well, I changed my mind.
All right, we're back on the record.
That's the way it works. Good morning.
Good morning.
You get to fill in for Hal today?
I am filling in for Hal, talking
Okay.
about the subdivision ordinance.
Okay.
Well, I believe it was about a month ago that we met with you originally.
Mm-hmm.
There was requests from the commissioners to show this within the, within the ordinance. I believe that's what we have on here. I apologize, I grabbed the ordinances, not ordinance, but the packet this morning and looked through it after Hal asked if I could be here.
So we're just going through, I'll just run it through then, just because from my understanding, we are not going to require a quad map then.
No, we are not.
And then that will also remove item 2 of 301B in the special review. That's all the engineering for the quad map and that stuff. And then there is, let's see here, impact analysis. It requires access for each lot is from maintained county road or suitable for private driveway. Access from each lot is maintained county road or private shared driveway. And then redivided, a plat lot must be compatible with existing subdivision. That's removed because that's very subjective. And then such divisions must be filed as records of survey. And then the last one I think that I saw was just a computer printout, calculator, tape, or standard letter size sheet of paper will be submitted with the XY coordinates for every point number on said plat. All coordinates shall be of the same datum. Wow, that's
taken out.
That's
That's
an antiquated statement.
And then road design standards 402A will be completely removed. And then
And I have a question on that, honestly. What are we replacing that with, if anything?
We are replacing that with the standards that we adopted.
Okay, and that's what I thought.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big thick road
The
packet.
The highway standards and let's see, the highway standard roadway development procedures for Bannock County.
Well, I thought
Current
that's what
edition.
this first line was, we're replacing it here, but
Well-
it's crossed out.
Well, that,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the
When-
state manual of design. What I would actually say is for that 402A, I'd keep it as a placeholder. I would not strike that. And what I would put there is I would put refer to the Bannock County road standards as approved of the current date.
yeah, it was August 31.
Yeah, so, but you see what
Current- We
I'm
want to
saying?
say current edition.
Current edition, because that's,
And that's
Because
why,
Yeah, because-
that's why I'm looking at that.
yeah, because this is the state design standards that we're striking, but we adopted our county design standards, which are based on the state, so I would not actually remove 402A. I would just leave that as design standards, please, or, it is the current manual that we adopted for the county, and I would just reference that there, is you need to refer to this.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if you're, let's look at it from somebody who is not in our,
Commissioner, may I?
yeah,
So as I was going through this packet, just like 9 o'clock, I feel that that item has been changed that was represented at the Bannock County Planning and Development Council and did not
get in here.
get in here.
Okay.
And I have that here, and I can read it, 402A Design Standards. Roads, bridges, and streets shall be designated or designed and constructed according to highway standards of roadway development procedures for Bannock County, comma, current edition.
Yep, that's
That's
it.
addressing.
Yep, that's what that is.
That
Okay, yeah,
replaces
we
this.
just
Right,
don't
that
have that
replaces
in
that.
here.
Okay.
And then 402, it's represented on the face or the agenda item that we had for Bannock County Commissioners the first time we were here and also this time. 402A1, it says, okay, so our old ordinance talked about design deviations, okay? There is, it is the same type of thing, but it's called design variations on there. So 401A is design variations to the above referenced, and I have HSRDP may be granted in open space design subdivision. The balance of that struck. And
Hey,
then,
Mike, you want to hold up? Mr. Chairman, you know what I'd say is I'd say let's pause for 2 seconds. Let's just get a copy of that and make sure we're all on the same, because then we don't have to come back and we can approve this all. So you don't
Right.
have to try and read it to us. If that's the current one for that 402 section, let's hurry up.
Yes.
Let's see if we can pause for a second, get a
Yes.
copy.
While you're still there, maybe you're gonna touch it on it, is this number 3 on that same,
Cul-de-sac.
yes,
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, let's
we
have-
talked about a 45-foot radius, is that covered somewhere else? Because we
That
come
is.
down in 2, and we're talking about driveways, and they're required for fire engines and stuff to have a 45-foot radius. So it
That's-
just kinda didn't make sense to cut it out one place and have it in another spot.
Okay, so let me explain that. The cul-de-sac is described within the highway standards.
Okay.
And that's why that's struck. The driveways are not found in the highway standards because that is something on personal property. And so we address it here, and we also address it in our planning and development, or our zoning ordinance, I should say that. The purpose of having that 90-foot turnaround, diameter turnaround in there is so fire engines and equipment can go into someone's house and then only needs to back up 150 feet before they can make their little Snoopy turn and go out. And so it's the same radius, same
Yeah.
radius and diameter, just different purpose of that turnaround.
Okay.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
looked at them, and I knew that we had problems at one subdivision that I was with Brett Grayson, and we measured it, and it didn't fit
Yeah,
The ins-
I,
what was supposed to be there.
yeah,
So,
that's correct.
yeah, with that, just so we can have a copy, especially for Nancy, having that 402, because it sounds like they have updated exactly what I was thinking. And as I was reading the packet,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good with, just reference what we're talking about is my main thing.
Yeah, that is what was presented to
That's good.
the Planning and Development Council, and also presented to you, and it's shown on this, why it's not here. This looks very much like a version that I scratched through at first, and then we went back like in December and January or so and put in other words, and, because I agree. If we're
That-
taking something out, we want to point them to something else.
The other question I had, because Ernie's been asked this question, so have I, like Gilbert Ranch subdivision, it went through because we're up here in section 301, which is the pre-development conference.
That's correct.
So like the Gilbert Ranch, they went through, they gave all their preliminaries, they were given the go-ahead by that. Now they're under construction right now, but then there's no, but then so the first time we get a chance to decide whether something's going to be taken in or out is actually after they've already spent all the money and constructed the project, right?
The commissioners, when the commissioners.
When we
have a
approve the
chance-
plat, because the whole thing is there's not is there an appeal process after that the preliminary?
Okay, so there's four phases in development. The first three are completed before we allow them to build or put construction plans together.
Uh-huh.
And each one of those, well, the first one is more of an informational meeting.
Uh-huh.
Where we say, this is what, they show us what they have, and then we offer comments based on what they have, in the hopes that they would provide everything and they can bring that to the Planning and Development Council during a public hearing for the concept plan review. I believe that that's in 302, where we have council plan review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, as I was looking
And
at.
so that's a public hearing.
Yeah.
And people can come to that, they can voice their opinion, and then there's an appeal process there. And then there's also preliminary plat, which is after the concept review meeting, public hearing, and that there's an appeal process.
We need to have
with respect to that,
a conversation about that in our next, in this ordinance, because it's something as I've looked at, is if there's something that is an ordinance or how we have that, basically then everything's constructed and done, the commissioners haven't had a say on something then until we actually get to final construction. They're done and they're waiting for a piece of paper.
I'm not, right now, I mean, I live in Ingham. They started cutting roads.
Right.
I haven't been involved in a single meeting or conversation about it, which I shouldn't be if somebody wants to appeal.
Right.
So what if we end up saying, no, we don't agree? You know, we're totally out of it until they've already invested a lot of money into it. So it just kind of
I think
seemed
we,
backwards somehow
Yeah, I
to
think
me.
we
Well,
need to-
if
we
that's
need
the
to fig-
direction, I mean, we can
figure
do
something
that.
out, because there needs to be, because there's a lot of these divisions that are gonna start coming. And when we start talking about a big subdivision like this, we're talking about not just an implement on planning and zoning, we're talking about policing, ambulance. I mean, we're talking about, you start putting big subdivisions that are gonna put, 200, 300 lots in an area, especially in a rural area, that may or may not be, already have sheriff's office availability or ambulance staging, stuff like that. Those are things that we should probably have that conversation. And it doesn't need to be a final approval of the plat, but there needs to be somewhere probably in that submittal that before they start cutting ground and doing that, we make sure that the county itself can support it. And you guys in the planning and zoning world look at it through the planning and zoning eyes, and that needs to just be, and I'm one that would, I don't see why you wouldn't approve stuff like that, but at the same time though, we're gonna start getting to some points where people wanna build a subdivision, out in Downey, and they wanna put 200 lots out there. How would you ever support that? And that's what I'm saying, that's where we need to have
That's what the
those
city of Income did with this.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked at it, they decided they didn't have the sewer capacity to annex that in, and so they cut it off before any money was invested, towards building. And that's the same with the county. Why wouldn't we have a conversation?
Or if we need to provide additional policing services, that we need to understand that. I mean, that's one of those things that, or again, like I said, ambulance, that kind of stuff. Those are just gonna be, I have a feeling we're gonna get a lot of these subdivisions that are gonna get pushed into the county now really quick. And that's just something that we wanna make sure that, can we support them? And like I said, I don't know if you do your submittal and then before they dig, you just have I don't know if you can approve the plat prior, then you have the final construction plat, but think about that and see if there's a way to, because that's something, because then we take out all the fighting and arguing, and it's just go build it and get it done. And then we don't have
So-
to worry about it.
Just to kind of mind experiment this a little bit, I think to myself, we can add you as a reviewing agency. We could send the same letter or the same notification that we send to.
We're the appellate board, if you think about it that
Oh,
way.
yeah.
So
Okay,
what
so
you would
maybe
have to
we
do
can-
on your submittal is what I think you would do is you would give it a chance of, okay, for review, and then you have final approval of a subdivision. I think a subdivision over like a 4-split subdivision, you would put a size trigger. If it's over, if it's over a certain size, it's just kicked to the commission and we have the final review, right then and there, and say, because I mean, doing 4 or 5, almost like a minor land division or something like that, you're doing a piece of property, you're taking a 20-acre parcel, you're cutting it into 4 or 5 acre. Got it. You're gonna take 200 or 300 or 400 acres and you're gonna cut it up into a bunch of I think that's where you need to have some of the final review on something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Because
I mean,
then I
there's a
think-
lot of jurisdictions that have their, either city council or Bannock, the commissioners have a review opportunity. The time that I mostly see it is during preliminary plat.
Yeah.
And so it runs through the planning and development portion, and then there is a business meeting again with the.
See, and that's the thing is we've had nothing, and that just brought to light on this they meet all the requirements, that's fine, that's great, but did we make sure that we've addressed some of those conversations and some of those other things that were there?
I cannot go to the grocery store or the post office or anything without being asked about it. I don't have any ideas.
I'll tell you, my cell phone's out. They know everyone knows my cell phone, and it's like bang, 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 bang.
Yep.
I can tell when people wake up in the morning, this text starts coming in.
After seeing this, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the subdivision ordinance changes as presented.
You have a motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Would you do me a favor, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Would you get this, or just have Hal and those guys put this together? We need to get and it's good that we have IT here, we need to get the ordinances, we need a formal signed copy, but then we need an actual searchable PDF copies for all of our ordinances that way, because right now they're all just scanned documents, and it makes it a little complicated to.
Yeah, at least you can.
I was trying to control F some stuff the other day, and I had to start reading by
Yeah, you can't do, I don't think you can do that on subdivision, but I think the other ordinance.
Oh, I'm sure Adam has a crazy program that'll read it and scan it and put it in. Yeah, that'll do it. So,
Okay,
cool.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are we seeing you again today?
Yes, 11 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
All right, Adam. We can get you up here.
Let's get you rolling.
Good morning, Adam McKinney, Electronic Communications for 911 this morning. This morning we are requesting that you guys review and possibly sign a sole sourcing documentation system, or sole sourcing documentation has been provided. It's for Day Wireless as our Motorola Solutions and 911 system provider. We took direction from a couple other counties who have done this similar process. In our request to legal to have this looked at, we have been notified by Motorola Solutions that Day Wireless is simply the only provider in the state, in our region, actually, that can provide Motorola Solutions inventory and gear and systems. We'd like to extend that to the entire 911 system because they've engineered and designed the system from the ground up. That would include the microwave equipment, the radio equipment, the dispatch center equipment, and we've provided documentation. Ada County is the primary holder of the 700 megahertz statewide system. They've done this similar thing. Their documentation that I included mentions GEM State Communications. That's now a wholly owned subsidiary of Day Wireless. I also included some documentation from Bingham County, who's just done this as well with Day Wireless, and then last but not least, Nez Perce County, who's also done this with Day Wireless. So I know legal's reviewed it, and I'm just here to see if we can get it on the docket for public opinion and go from there.
I only had one question, and that's these terms, desired terms, 4/01/2022 to 9/30/2032. We've had discussion about 5-year
Well, that would be a
time frame instead of,
a lease. This is just the part of what they would be offering is the terms this would be inside the window for leasing options to be.
okay.
Yep, I primarily just picked 10 years. That's what Ada County had done with theirs, but I'm more than happy to readjust it. And we can also come back and recertify this in a few years if we need to. If there were other vendors that came into the area that could offer Motorola solutions, I'm more than happy to investigate it, but currently this is our only boat, and it will make some of these bigger projects that we have coming down the pipe a little easier to break up into chunks if we have
I
just
just wanted to
one.
make sure that we was
Yeah.
legally able to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 5 years goes down to leasing property,
Okay,
unless it's been put out to a public auction.
okay. I'm just,
I'm okay with this. This is, I think Adam's done his due diligence on it, and it's where we're at. Mr. Chairman, I would request to approve the sole source documentation for Day Wireless as represented and authorize its publication.
we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good places to sign it.
Say we, I make a request that we don't authorize its release until Commissioner Huff gets back and has a chance to sign it, so for public comment. It looks good when you said blank, a blankety blank out. Said didn't sign it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Shanda?
No, you're good, no, you're good.
Commissioner, Shanda Crystal, Purchasing and Economic Analyst. I have one item before the board today, and that is a request of a signature on a concessions contract with Go Out Local. They were the winner of the award that we put out for concessions up at the Event Center Wellness Complex. Upon reviewing what was submitted to the Commissioner's office, the comptroller, Christy, had found or suggested that we add a language in there, so I would like to review that with you quick. We added in section 4 that the licensee shall provide a profit loss statement to the event center along with the 20% net profit payout for the concession stands located at the Event Center Wellness Complex on or before the last Friday of each month for the prior month's service. And that just clarifies more what they're going to turn in and when they're going to turn it in.
Okay.
Does
I'm
have a
not
pay date?
Sure, that's, so they're just gonna give us a profit and loss to verify what they're gonna pay us?
So that was what was discussed between Scott and Go Out Local.
Okay.
Well, you-
If that's not
The prob-
sufficient.
The problem that we have is we need a pay date. Like, they need to pay us within X amount of days after the event,
Or monthly at least.
or
Yeah.
whatever the case is.
So
Somehow.
this would be monthly, it'd be on the last Friday of every month, is currently what's being,
Oh,
So like
if that's,
March 30th for February,
yes, something.
okay.
I mean, we could,
A profit and
as long as
loss,
there's a date.
yeah. And a profit and loss, I don't,
hold on, I thought there was something else in here that, now there was the P and L, but there was something else in receipting and something else that was there.
Scott did mention that they use Z-tapes and stuff like that, but as he talked to Go Out Local, that's the wording they got back to me, but if there's different.
Because I thought we were gonna do like the Coke products and all the other stuff, is it was being bought, just like we had done in the other ones where we had bought it and they sold it. So they're still responsible for everything that's,
so we need reimbursed for that.
well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, so Z-tapes wouldn't necessarily, because they're just responsible for all the product that's there.
And that's easy because what they'll do is they'll provide a bill saying that they bought this much stuff. They'll reimburse us for that.
Yeah, and whether they sell it or not is really irrelevant because they just bought it from us. I mean,
Right.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you'd have what their costing would be if, if they said they bought, 10 hamburgers from us, their profit on that, we would know would be, they're selling it for $3, they bought it for $2, they sold 10 of them, we know they made $10. There's your, so your
Right.
profit lot, right? Or do we need to have, I just, if they're gonna, I thought that's why we were talking about buying it that way, because then there isn't all the Z tapes and all that stuff every single day. I mean, we can do it that way if we need to, but I was hoping to make it easy on your guys' office and that, so we didn't have,
Fine, as long as there's a date, so that there's not balances that are going forward.
For
and forward
30
and
days.
forward.
For example, we're still trying to collect from last year on somebody
okay.
for Coke and Orion products that we still haven't gotten. But a profit and loss, traditionally, we had worked with, when Diamond Concessions was here, they talked about doing pre-counts, after-counts, just to try to verify that what they sold is what they sold, because, and I'm not saying Go Out Local isn't honest, but how do you prevent cash transactions going in the pocket?
Well, and
So-
that's why they would just, product to be delivered to the concession stands, you're gonna have a receipt of purchase that says, hey, we called Coke or we called whoever, and Coke just billed us for 200 Cokes.
Right.
Hey, Go Out Local, you have 200 Cokes that you owe us for. We don't care if you sell them for under the table, we don't
Right.
care if you take them and sell them in Boise, you owe us 200 Cokes plus the profit margin on the 200 Cokes.
Right. But how do you
Isn't there-
take care of everything else?
Yeah.
Well,
They don't buy through us.
And that's what I was saying, that's what the understanding was, is that all of those contracts, they were buying that through that
For what they offered, but when there's things outside
side, then they
of
would have to
Orion and
Z-tape it,
Coke,
okay.
right,
Gotcha,
then
gotcha,
there needs to be
gotcha.
another mechanism to do that, for sure.
And I guess we could run through what they're thinking they're gonna turn in and look, Jason and I can look at it and see if that's gonna be
Sufficient.
sufficient. But it would be nice to have that information prior to signing a contract, because then once you sign a contract, you,
Well, I hesitate to sign the contract till they fulfill some of their obligations on the other contract. Honestly,
we still haven't
contract,
received.
on concerts, we haven't received or heard a single thing, and
And Scott was gonna update Jason and I on that, but I think he's been busy and we haven't had a chance to connect.
well, I talked to him
That's some-
yesterday, and he's got some lists of, people that they want to bring, but they don't have a single contract signed.
Well, I don't have money.
Oh, they
from-
don't?
I don't have money from last year, from Go Out Local.
I just want to, within.
I want a
within X-
meeting with Go Out Local. Let's bring them down here and let's have
Within
this
X amount of
conversation.
days after an event or monthly, they should pay us for the
I
previous.
think you'd have to set it as a monthly, because this is.
That's fine, as
this
long as
isn't
there's
for-
something, right?
Yeah, this contract not only falls under concerts, but this is just running the outside concessions. So like your daughter's soccer game right now, if they want concessions this is actually the only concessions that are gonna be offered is through here. And so that's why we've gotta get going then, is so we need to have them here then like by the end of the week. I mean, we really need to have this signed.
Next Tuesday.
I mean, as fast as we can.
Jeff will be back next
Yep,
Tuesday.
as fast as we can get them down in, on this,
Let's do that.
we need to have them here.
Let's
I mean,
talk
I
to
think Go
the,
Out Local is gonna put out a good product, but let's iron out a couple of details to make sure we're paid correctly.
I'm hoping that they do.
Yeah. I like it.
But-
I think it's a good direction, but let's just iron that out a little bit.
Well, they're young and we need to iron some of these things out, like I
Yeah.
said. I think that it'd be good to have them right here and we ask the questions directly.
We'll set up a meeting with them next Tuesday with the Event Center, Go Out Local, and the commissioners.
Okay,
Will do.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, we'll be at recess till 11 o'clock. Where are we at?